warning. They went with a severe thunderstorm warning. So that lends itself to the credence of the fact that I don't think it's producing a tornado any longer. And in fact, the rotation is not as impressive as it was a little while ago either. And again, goes back to the bigger scheme of things that there is a tornado threat today, but I still think it's relatively low for most of us. So here we are, severe thunderstorm warning in effect through northern Kentucky, just a big rainmaker at this point, and probably some strong winds. Allison, let's check this out since we've got the new update. Okay, severe thunderstorm warning, and I should say the other part of this warning now includes southern Hamilton County. So Hamilton County kind of split in two. We've got a warning basically from Ronald Reagan north into Butler County, and then for this storm coming out of southeast Indiana, a severe thunderstorm warning now for the southern half of Hamilton County, as well as Boone, also Kenton and Campbell counties. So, but it's just a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back, Allison. I did see on velocity, I did not see anything that indicated rotation, but you can clearly see there is still a core of very strong winds associated with this storm. Now the question is this storm elevated or not? But we are certainly dealing with a fairly healthy storm. So Allison, let's zoom in right there. And you can see as we look on velocity is indicating that there's probably some 80 to 90 mile an hour winds. Now, the key here is whether or not the winds are making it all the way down to the surface.
Well, he just showed up.
That is a little bit
What now?
easier to say.
He just showed up.
Oh, okay.
For power outages,
Upstairs, so
certainly if you live over towards Rising Sun, for example, Warsaw, if you're along the Ohio River, I would prepare for potential power outages as you work
hang on a
your way
second.
through Ohio and Switzerland counties, with this storm capable of producing some
He's trying to take off.
At 6 o'clock, we've been in continuous coverage for quite some time. Immediately after a tornado warning went up in the area, Kevin Robinson cut in, the weather team helping Jefferson County.
See you in a little bit.
Here's that
Bye
the
now.
Sheriff's Department, somebody in that Sheriff's Department
Okay, I will.
tornado.
Bye now.
They're saying there was a confirmed tornado in Jefferson County, and as you can tell by the radar and some of the pictures on your screen, there are many people in greater Cincinnati being impacted, at least by some of this weather situation.
Yeah, especially out there in southeastern Indiana, but also Hamilton County now is on Kevin's radar. We've been talking a lot about out there in southeastern Indiana. We have crews all over greater Cincinnati for you. This top picture out there is a crew of ours, by the way, being completely safe, of course. They just left southeastern Indiana. They're heading into Cleves, if you know that area, and it has been really nasty. We've been watching our live drive pictures out there. The bottom camera here, a little fuzzy, you can see that is the Forest Park area. So we have crews all over. We're going to continue to track this storm system, as is our weather team. Let's get back on over to our chief meteorologist, Kevin Robinson. Again, we have several warnings going on right now, thunderstorm warnings. But Kevin, how is that tornado warning out there that was issued for parts of Ripley, Ohio, and Switzerland counties? I know that was issued around 5:15. Is that still in effect?
No, that warning has been allowed to expire, and that's some good news because as we're tracking this thunderstorm at the moment, you know, it's looking a lot less organized in terms of its tornado potential. And I want to emphasize again today that while we have this tornado watch in effect, conditions, while they are at least suitable for tornadoes, they're not ideal because we've had so much rain earlier in the day. Anyway, with that said, we still got very strong winds that are about to cross the Ohio River. So you still want to treat this as if it's a weak tornado, okay? It's still producing winds, at least estimated on Doppler radar, that could be close to 80, 90 mile an hour winds. So those are hurricane force wind speeds. And remember, you don't have to have a tornado to get straight line wind damage or still produce significant wind damage. And hence the reason why we have a severe thunderstorm warning that basically stretches across all of northern Kentucky and the southern third of Hamilton County. So we've got two severe thunderstorm warnings that are currently in effect right now. On the other side, the split screen, southeast Indiana, we've got very heavy rainfall that is occurring across southeast Indiana. That storm, though, is no longer producing a tornado. And at the moment, at least in a positive aspect, we have no tornado warnings in effect for the WLWT viewing area. Everything at this moment is severe at the time. So severe thunderstorm warnings are what we're dealing with. The only tornado warning is down here in Trimble County. That's not in our viewing area. If it continues, it could skirt to the south of Owenton. But at this point, no tornado warnings, only severe thunderstorm warnings. And what I want to track here, Allison, let's get in on these two big storms. We can go to the one to the north first. This is a severe thunderstorm warning again for northern Hamilton County that extends basically, let's come out just a little bit more since we have this split screen up. We've got this severe thunderstorm warning basically now through Butler into Warren counties. As you can see here, just heavy rainfall. You're not going to get a tornado, fortunately, out of this type of mess on radar. This is a very, what we call kind of a messy storm mode. You've got a lot of thunderstorms interacting, and usually that makes it very difficult for tornadoes to form. You need a low storm usually in order to get good tornado development, and you're just not seeing that. So while it is certainly nasty up here in Mainville, Loveland, Lebanon, Mason, notice there's no circulations in this area. There's some strong winds being detected a little bit here in southern southern Butler County, and then back in parts of northern Hamilton County. But overall, these winds even aren't of tremendous speed. So enough to maybe bring down a tree power line, maybe make the power flicker a little bit. But overall, those winds aren't terribly strong. Looks like we've got a new severe thunderstorm warning that's just been issued now. This is for Warren County. Basically, this includes the Mason, South Lebanon communities. Looks like with this particular storm, again, same story, probably dealing more so with just some heavy rainfall and strong winds and a lot of the area there. Struggling a little bit to see where we're seeing some of the stronger wind gusts out of this storm. But nonetheless, we've got a severe thunderstorm warning here through northern parts of Warren County at the moment. Heavy rain, wind, moving through a lot of these communities. But again, no tornado warnings. So no tornado threats, at least at the moment currently. And overall, given the current setup, I just don't think we're seeing ideal conditions for tornadoes. Can we still see something spin up here this evening? Absolutely. You can never take the tornado risk off the table until the cold front clears us. That's not going to happen until about 8 or 9 o'clock. But I think overall, we are looking at a mitigated tornado threat and more of a significant wind threat out of these storms. Okay? So, back south now. Across southeast Indiana, the tornado warning has been dropped. So you should no longer be hearing the sirens anywhere in the tri-state because there are no tornado warnings. There is a severe thunderstorm warning, and I want to emphasize here on Doppler radar, if you look at this storm is still, this speaks to, I was talking about the turning motion in the atmosphere. Even though this storm is no longer tornado warned, there is still broad rotation associated with that. So you don't want to sleep on it. You don't want to let your guard down in its entirety, especially if you're in Boone County, right? Because eventually this storm's going to cross the Ohio River in the next couple of minutes. And while we don't have tight rotation enough for a tornado, it is broad, so at some point it can certainly tighten up, and we'll keep an eye on that. But one thing's for sure, very strong winds are likely coming in towards rising sun. So if you are in rising sun, you're not dealing with a tornado, but Doppler radar is estimating, at least aloft, there could be some wind speeds getting close to 100 miles per hour. Those are some pretty strong straight line winds, and even if it's not a tornado, you certainly would still be looking at straight line wind damage. You still can see damage that would look like an EF0 or EF1, even if it's not a tornado, but just from straight line winds. So very strong winds moving in towards rising sun. This is going to be moving towards Union, also the Florence community as well. If you're looking there on our screen, this is the north side of the 275 loop. That's some of that blinding rainfall that's impacting the evening commute. You can see folks there with their hazard lights on. But right now, I think the most intense storm is this one, about to cross out of Switzerland County, Ohio counties, into Boone County. Here are some times. If you guys could drop that split screen just for a moment there so that we can see the box on the times with the warnings. As we track this storm across northern Kentucky, here's some of the times in various communities. This storm with the strong winds will approach the airport, in about 15 minutes. I'm assuming they're probably going to shut everything down there if they haven't already for that storm to pass. Florence about 6:20. So you've got about 13, 14 minutes there in Florence before those strong winds arrive to you. Erlanger about 6:26. Villa Hills, 630. Independence, closer to 630. Closer to 630 for those of you in Kenton County with these.
And it's now 6:07.
Not a tornado warning, but the potential for some very strong winds on that storm. All right, looks like we just changed that. We've got another tornado warning now. This is for that storm that I was talking about down here in Trimble County that could skirt across Owen County. Here is the storm, and there's the circulation. Looks like it's very close to Newcastle right now. So, I know a lot of us travel Interstate 71 between Cincinnati and Louisville. You've probably seen the signs on the interstate as you pass by. So this is way south of us at the very southern part of the viewing area. Looks like we've got a little circulation there in Newcastle. I'll move to the other side. Here's Owen County, and there's the city of Owenton. So there's the circulation. So this circulation, as of now, I think, stays just south of Owenton, maybe. Here's the big picture. There's Owenton. And if you look right there, there is Newcastle. And it's tough to say. Let's go back to reflectivity.
As we do have a little bit of a base lowering, and that if you were to go down just below that, you certainly have kind of a low-hanging cloud base. That's what Doppler radar is seeing most likely as the potential rotation. And that's the reason why we have now tornado warned, or the National Weather Service has decided to tornado warn that particular thunderstorm right there. You can kind of see a car driving off into the distance, almost directly towards that incoming cloud. So at the very least, even if there's not a tornado in this, you are going to see very strong winds. Remember, Doppler radar has strongly suggested that this storm has had a history of producing winds that could be close to 70 or 80 miles per hour. So again, even if it's not a tornado, strong, damaging straight line winds are a real concern. Let's go back to Doppler radar now. Come back here into the studio. We can keep this shot up at the same time. But here we are, and you notice these are very strong winds that are about to start encroaching on Interstate 75. What I like here is that I'm no longer seeing a tight rotation. It will be interesting to see right in this area back towards Oak Brook. Okay, there's a little bit of a circulation here in the Oak Brook community. So if there's a tornado in this, it's likely to be wrapped in the rain and very difficult to see. In fact, I think we are looking at that Florence shot now. That appears to me to be where the rotation would be if there were going to be a tornado with this. So this is what we're keeping a very close eye on there. You can certainly tell even from that shot how fast the clouds are moving. So we know for sure there should be some strong winds at the very least coming out of this thunderstorm. You can see how fast those clouds are certainly moving. And again, if you're anywhere up here, Oak Brook, hopeful.
April the 2nd.
As far north as Crestview, you need to be getting into an immediate safe place as the storm begins to approach right now. So again, this is for those of you in northern Boone County along Interstate 75. Look how fast those clouds are moving. Very, very fast cloud movement there. Certainly indicative of what's probably going to be some very strong winds coming into that as well. Allison, let's bring this out a little bit so we can keep an eye and track on this particular storm. And again, it seems that it would be between Oak Brook and Florence is where we have kind of some broad rotation. Again, not seeing anything that is clearly what we define as gate-to-gate shear, but there is a tornado warning on this storm in Boone County in Florence that soon will be moving over towards Erlanger and Lakeside Park. Are you guys seeing anything in the chat or getting anything from Weather Service or Boone County management down there in terms of anything that's happening?
I've been looking, and so far I'm not really seeing too much of anything. Again, I do have a family and in-laws that live down in that area. I haven't heard anything from them yet. And so far, not seeing anything in the way of chat. Adam, have you seen anything yet? No. Nothing yet. So right now, nothing, which is good considering how populated this area is. You certainly would think that if we have something confirmed, that we would start to hear more and more about reports. I'll throw on our debris tracker here, Kevin, for you, just to see if we have anything going on here. That's a little ominous over by Burlington.
I was going to say, that's a little interesting right there near the Burlington Oak Brook area. So I tell you what, let's come out just a hair for me. There you go. And let's lapse this and see here, because maybe there was something down earlier that could have picked up a little bit of debris. It's interesting that there's nothing else in that area. So it makes me wonder, a few minutes ago when they issued the warning, remember, these storms are cyclical in nature, so it can certainly put something down and then pop back up. It's a little tricky to see, not specifically seeing anything maybe. Maybe it's just a few pixels. With that said, I want to emphasize right here in Erlanger and Florence, folks, in this Erlanger-Florence community, this area right here, right where 75 bends, there is strong rotation, it would appear to me, moving over towards Erlanger and moving very close to Lakeside Park. This is going to come up on the south side of the 275 loop. So if you are in Crestview Hills, you need to be in your safe place now in Kenton County as this tornado-warned storm moves in your direction. If you're over towards Sanford Town, for example, Lakeview, basically anyone along 275 in northern Kentucky right now, you should be into your safe place as this potentially tornado-warned storm moves in your direction. So here you can see again, this is Dixie Highway. Circulation right on Dixie Highway here shortly. I think Dudley Road, if any of these streets sound familiar to you, you should be in a safe place. Again, Lakeside Park. I mentioned Dudley Road, Summit Hill Heights, for example. Here's the circulation right over the city of Florence as we speak, probably now east of 71 and soon to be crossing into extreme western parts of Kenton County over the next couple of minutes. So this is the tornado-warned storm that we are keeping a very close eye again on. Let's come out just a little bit. Let's try the debris tracker again, Alice, and see how that's shaping up here with the storm. Again, this is a tornado-warned storm down here in Boone and Kenton counties at the moment. So if you're in northern Kentucky, you are certainly hearing the sirens. Excuse me there. You're certainly hearing the sirens in northern Kentucky. Again, this would be from Crescent Park, Crestview Hills, back down towards the Erlanger community. This is going to be moving over towards Forest Hills and even Wilder over the next couple of minutes. And I would suspect it looks like the rotation was right on the leading edge of that rain. So maybe kind of difficult to see what's happening here. Let's come out just a little bit and see how this is looking overall. And if you want, Allison, throw this into a lapse. And we'll watch to see how this looks velocity-wise. That's a look at the reflectivity. Certainly trying to wrap up. That storm certainly wants to wrap up. It seems to be struggling. If you notice here, the red and green couplets aren't the best in terms of connecting. They're very close. So I think rotation may still be a little broad, or there very well could still be a small tornado in there. Either way, you can certainly see strong winds on either side of this rotation here. So straight line winds obviously concerned, and you can clearly see the broad rotation as that pivots its way through the Florence, now through the Edgewood community, I would think, passing between Villa Hills and Edgewood, right on Interstate 71, 75 at the moment, and basically right near the interchange there, 275 and 71, 75 in northern Kentucky. This is going to be moving over towards Highland Heights. I would even say if you're in Fort Thomas, for example, I think the actual circulation itself is running right along the northern part of the polygon. So if you're basically south of, let's just call it south of the Ohio River in northern Kentucky at this point, if you're in Kenton or Campbell counties, let's get into a safe place. There's some pretty ominous skies as we are taking a look right now at our Carew Tower camera. And we are panning. Let's keep panning and see what. Something a little better here in terms of the overall rotation with this. Still not seeing anything clearly just yet. I know we're about to get into the direction in which we should be facing that storm. So it's a little tough to see anything out there from Carew Tower at the moment. I don't see anything that explicitly, certainly not seeing a tornado, at least from this perspective. And I'm not seeing much of a base lowering either. Circulation probably going to be wrapped in rain. That's what I'm thinking based off what I saw and what I'm seeing right now here on the radar. So again, as we pan the skyline from downtown Cincinnati, not seeing anything, at least at this moment, that would suggest anything that looks like a tornado. Again, remember today, we have a lot of turning motion in the atmosphere, but I think one of the key ingredients in why we aren't seeing at least a more substantial significant severe weather event or scenario where we actually have tornadoes confirmed is simply because of the rain we had earlier today. I think that has really helped us out a little bit. That said, we've got dangerous storms moving through the metro now with the potential at least of spinning up a tornado. Obviously, you can see the evening commute impacted as folks are heading into northern Kentucky. Just a real white knuckle drive there with heavy rainfall and lots of standing water. At this point, though, I don't see anything that confirms a tornado for me. In fact, the circulation looked a little bit better when it was crossing the Ohio River, and that's good news. So we continue to watch this. And again, you can kind of see basically what I mean when I talk about it's not a tight couplet. Notice there's a little space here between the red and green. So that would indicate to me that there's probably broad rotation within the storm, but nothing that's tight enough just yet. Have strong winds with it, that's for sure. Moving through northern Kentucky, certainly if you're down here towards, for example, Maurice or Ridgeview Heights, excuse me, back towards Florence, probably some pretty strong winds wrapped up in that as well. Excuse me. So here we are, heavy rainfall right over downtown Cincinnati, through the Bromley community, Villa Hills, Delhi, all seeing showers and storms at the moment. There's plenty of heavy rain on up through the rest of Hamilton County. But what we're keeping an eye on right now is this thunderstorm. Boy, look at that weather crossing the Brent Spence Bridge. Just a really nasty go. I mean, torrential rainfall coming down. I can hear the thunder on top of the studio here in Mount Auburn as well. It is very, very loud. But this just gives you an idea of what we're dealing with. There's some good news, I think. I'm saying good news. We no longer have the tornado warning in effect. So that tornado warning has been allowed to expire down there. The tight rotation that we were seeing. So the Weather Service agrees and is seeing the same thing and says, you know what, we're going to drop that tornado warning on that storm. Could it cycle back up again? Absolutely. So it's something we'll keep an eye on. At the very least, we've got nasty storms. I should also update, Allison, let's hop down here into Owen County, Owen and Grant counties, because we've got new severe thunderstorm warnings. Boy, look at this storm here. Talk about a C-shaped storm. Clearly there was some rotation in that. That is, at least at the moment, probably fallen off just a little bit, but that is a nasty storm south of Owenton. This will pass south of Dry Ridge, though. I think the worst of this stays south of Dry Ridge and probably even south of Falmouth as well. But if you got a loved one that's traveling 75 between Dry Ridge and Lexington over the next little while, give them a call, let them know, let this storm cross the interstate. So here we are back to square one. No tornado warnings. Simply severe thunderstorm warnings currently in effect for the viewing area at the moment. So that's a little bit of, good news out there. Again, the environment just not particularly favorable.
level of
I'm gonna go ahead and get the tub.
Basement, babe.
Huh?
That's what you need to be
Now.
doing. If
Go
you're
ahead.
in Erlanger or Florence, for example,
Now.
if you're down towards the Union community, you need to be getting into a safe place for these storms. They are certainly producing.
Along Florence, so we're talking the Zion exit over in northern Kentucky. If you live in a mobile home park, I know there are a couple in that area. Get into a safe place if you possibly can as well. And if you live in Union, again, get into your safe place if you can. As we go through, Thomas More Stadium around Florence, Erlanger, these are all areas that are under the tornado warning. So this is going to continue to go out for areas around
Yep, I'm
Florence
getting
and
in the
Thomas More
tub.
Stadium at least until about 6:32. So you've got, I'd say, about 10 minutes, but go ahead and get into your safe place if you live out.
Getting
Union.
into my
Got
safe
several
place.
family
Miss
friends
June's
that
going
live
to
out
the
there,
basement
so
with the
go ahead
cats,
get
and I'm
into your
getting in the
safe place if you
tub
live
since I
out there.
can't do the
Thanks, Rob.
steps.
For me right there. There's a lot of talking here, but you definitely want to call
Just an immediate tornado. I do see what could be a little bit of a wall cloud or a base lowering out of this, I certainly think. It's tough to tell here. If we can, I'm going to step out. Can we take that shot full just for a moment from Storm Tracker Max so that we can kind of get a better idea of what's looking in terms of overall the cloud situation here? So, looking at this, basically, you are looking at certainly kind of a shelf lowering overall. I'm not seeing anything that looks like a tornado at the moment. Certainly some low clouds, very ominous looking skies. As you look southwest, I think, of the Florence Mall, I believe that's the current location. In that area is where we're going to be keeping a close eye out for any potential rotation. This is, again, to the
moving off towards the east-northeast. So if you're anywhere between Monterey and Owington on 127, you need to be getting into a safe place. So if you live anywhere south of the city of Owington into Owen County on 127, please get into a safe place as this dangerous and nasty storm moves in your direction. Could be a life-threatening situation given the fact that this is a confirmed tornado down here coming towards Owen County, and we can actually see debris that has been lifted in the air. Right now in Owington, just a little bit of heavy rainfall. Skies are getting dark, but there is a nasty storm just a county over that is going to be moving into your area out of Trimble County. So that's the tornado warning storm. I want to go back to northern Kentucky because of the fact that we've got really strong winds that are going to be moving across this area. And to be honest with you, I really don't like the overall signature on this storm. While it doesn't have a warning on it for those of you in Boone County, I would certainly treat this storm. You see this here? There's still some rotation with this storm, and it wouldn't take much to get this to the next level for a tornado warning or even some type of tornado warned storm. Even though we've got rotation, broad rotation, it's not exactly what we call side by side here or gate to gate in the weather world. It's not perfectly side by side, but there is broad rotation with this storm coming into Boone County. So heed the warning if you're in Florence, for example. Take this warning seriously here. If you're in Union, take this warning seriously. Basically, anyone right near or south of 275, this is the circulation. All right, here's Aurora. There's rising sun. Go back just a little bit on the screen there. So let's show you Aurora, rising sun. This is the Ohio River. Here's the circulation right in here. It's broad, but not far off from being very close to enough where you would pull a tornado warning trigger on that. So we're going to watch this closely as it gets ready to move its way towards the Lakeside Park, Erlanger, Florence communities. If you're in this stretch of 75, you know, it's never, you can never be too safe with some of these. So with this moving into more populated areas, we want to keep a very
Time for maybe me to get in the
right now,
tub
very close to Waterloo or Bellevue or
in the bathroom
right along the Ohio River and extreme
here in
western
Independence.
Boone County. Currently, this is only severe warned, but we are keeping a
6:15,
very close eye on
April the
this.
2nd.
certainly see how slow folks are going on 75. But basically, if you're in Newtown, over towards Belterra, out towards Highland Heights, in northern Kentucky, get ready for some strong winds. They're going to be coming in your direction here over the next couple of minutes. Over downtown Cincinnati, it's noisy. There's heavy rain, lightning, maybe some gusty winds, probably even some small hail, I would suspect, coming out of this out of this storm. But at this point, the worst part of this is just near and south of the Ohio River, I think generally in northern Kentucky. This will move into southeastern Hamilton County over the next couple of minutes. So nasty thunderstorm right atop downtown Cincinnati, definitely making for a very rough evening commute around the area. This is going to be impacting the east side. So if you're out here towards Asbury, out towards 8 Mile, Watch Hill, the Sherwood Village area, Dry Run, Newtown, Beechmar, all you folks out here towards Anderson Township, get ready for some strong winds and heavy rain to come through your neck of the woods too over the next couple of minutes. That's what we're dealing with. I think we should probably come out big picture since it's coming up on 6:30, a couple of minutes now after the bottom of the hour, and show you what we're looking at here. We've got 3, I think, distinctive storms that we're keeping a close eye on, and fortunately, no tornado warnings, all severe thunderstorm warnings. You've got one here basically moving through Warren and the Clinton counties. Let's go up and talk about this stuff now in Warren and the Clinton counties, because again, not tornadic, but just severe, at least severe warned. Anyways, we've got probably some pretty good winds coming towards those of you in Clarksville. So on 71, the Clarksville community, here's the storm back towards Morrow, from Waynesville to Morrow, and if you look right in this white shading, you're probably getting some 40, maybe 45-mile-an-hour wind gusts that are going to come in towards the Clarksville community here in the next couple of minutes. And those very strong winds will also move over towards the Wilmington area as you head up towards Interstate 71. So I think these are marginally severe storms in the northern parts of Warren, up in the Clinton counties, but certainly some 40, close to 40, maybe getting close to 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, certainly possible in some of those. So that's the one storm. Let's go down now and see how this storm again, this is eastern Hamilton County, western Claremont County, northern Campbell County. This is the storm that did have a tornado warning on it. It was dropped, and now we're just dealing with torrential rainfall over downtown Cincinnati as you head out on Columbia Parkway, as you head out towards the Columbia, Tusculum area, out east of Cincinnati. This is going to follow 275 out towards Anderson Township. So Anderson Township, the Asbury area, you're going to get in on some heavy rain and strong winds over the next couple of minutes. Looks like the Weather Service just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning. I think that's for this same storm, though. They did. And this includes now northern Claremont into northern Brown counties. Again, this thunderstorm right here, it does have a little bit of a notch on it, but I certainly think this afternoon storms are struggling just a bit to tighten all the way up. You know, as we work our way through the evening, they're awfully close, but they seem to be missing just a little bit. Here's your times on this thunderstorm. Silver Grove now, Melbourne at 6:42. That's in the next couple of minutes. I mentioned Anderson already. If the storm survives, Amelia 6:50, Batavia closer to the 7 o'clock hour. So all of you are under now a severe thunderstorm warning in northern Claremont County for the potential of some strong winds, probably some pea-sized hail. Hail doesn't seem to be quite as significant at the moment, but there's probably some smaller hailstones, pea, nickel, maybe dime-sized hail coming out of this. And if you look at this at the moment, notice we were watching rotation earlier. There's still some broad rotation associated with this. It's basically centered right over northern Kentucky. So right as you head over 471 down towards the Highland Heights community, NKU, for example, that circulation, or at least the broad rotation, is essentially right over you in aloft as we speak, although I'm not seeing anything that would suggest there's an actual tornado, and that's the reason why the tornado warning is expired and the sirens should no longer be sounding at this point. But strong winds, though. Newtown, Anderson coming your way, the east side of the 275 loop, get ready. That's why you have these yellow polygons reflective of the severe thunderstorm warning that's currently in effect. The good news is that these storms are moving so fast that they are moving in and out at a very quick speed here. So this won't be an all-night type of severe event deal. I think by 8 we're out of this for sure. So here we are. Notice thunderstorms again are basically along Interstate 75 and to the southeast of Interstate 71 is what we're tracking. Again, fortunately, all severe thunderstorm warnings around the tri-state at the moment. There's a look at our live drive. This is I-275 out towards the airport now. You're looking clear now, in fact, to the west of the airport. Things are quieting down. These storms are now to the east of I-75 in most areas. So if you're west of I-75 now, your threat for severe weather, as you can see, has all but dwindled. In fact, if you're over here in southeast Indiana, I can go ahead and give you the all clear. The tornado threat is over for you folks in southeast Indiana. Basically, it's for anyone now along and ahead of these storms. So anyone that's east of Interstate 71 and east of Interstate 75 is where you have the severe potential. If you're up here in Butler County, you're in the clear too. The severe threat is kind of past you now. And if you're west of 75 in Hamilton County, I think it's equally as important as we warn folks to also give the all clear and let folks know that, hey, the threat is past. So if you're west of 75 in Butler, Hamilton counties, you are now in the clear of this severe event. That's the good news. All of the action is shifting its way off towards the east of Interstate 71 and 75 at the moment. And I think it's also important to note that we don't have any additional tornado warnings at this time. All severe thunderstorm warnings coming in around the tri-state. So that's what we're following right now. We're tracking thunderstorms that are producing wind and heavy rainfall, severe threats, primarily wind and hail out of this, it appears. As we've been saying, just not a huge tornado concern because we had so many rounds of rain and storms today. But now dealing with severe thunderstorm warnings. That's what we have pretty much to the east and moving across the entire region. So yeah, we're just tracking thunders at this point, wind and rain and some hail with a lot of these storms out here. That's what we're following. And I think it's safe to say even, I don't know about you guys, Allison and Adam, have you guys got any reports of wind damage or damage from strong winds out of this? Because it's good that I think that some of these storms are what we call a little elevated in nature, that they're producing a lot of thunder and lightning, and they're rotating, but they don't seem to be able to tap, because of some of the rain we had earlier today, they seem to be lacking just a little bit in the overall.
Customers without power, 2,000 St. Bernard.
So 5,000 customers?
Overall, 2,000 St. Bernard.
So there we have it. Obviously, we are losing some power, especially with all of the lightning. I wouldn't be surprised at all by some of that. And then some pockets of strong winds also out there. So we're following these storms around the tri-state at the moment. Again, pretty much all severe thunderstorm warnings are what we're looking at right now. Just severe thunderstorm warnings generally with wind and heavy rainfall that's occurring at this time. So heads up if you're in Claremont County, if you're in Clinton County, areas east of Interstate 71, 75, you folks are now under the gun for storms. But fortunately, we don't have any tornado warnings. There are all severe thunderstorm warnings at this point, as the environment seems just a little less conducive for actual tornadic activity around the area. So we are certainly, I think, very fortunate in that sense that we have.
Praise the Lord and pass the ammunition of godly principles. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white were all precious in Jesus' sight. Thank you, Lord,
I think I'm going to send it back
for keeping things calm down.
Mike and Cherie, for a very quick update on what's happening. Again, right now, severe thunderstorm warnings in effect.
Travels with Dr. John Stephenson here on YouTube and Facebook.
If you're to the west of Interstate 75,
all's well with Gideon,
you now of
the raccoon and its baby,
however, it continues
and
in our easternmost communities.
Peekaboo and Josephine and Miss June. And me too, John.
I'm sending it over to the desk to you guys.
All right, Kevin, thank you. So Kevin's going to be in the Weather Center. We've got Adam, we've got Allison as well. We've got reporters out everywhere right now. The heavy rain is the story right now. We've had tornado warnings. We've had thunderstorm warnings as well. Getting reports of all kinds of damage in the area. 5,000 customers, Duke Energy customers without power right now. 2,000 in that St. Bernard area. And again, earlier today, sheriff's deputies in Jefferson County, Indiana, spotted a tornado. But Kevin's been talking about rotation that he's been seeing on the radar, so would not be shocked at all, obviously, if we saw more than that today.
Yeah, and people all over greater Cincinnati really getting rocked right now. I mean, I'm seeing pictures on social media with hail up in Westchester, which isn't even in the danger zone right now. 2 inches, they had it right next to a tape measure. I just got a report from an emergency worker, 75 northbound, north and south in the Butler County area, right there at State Route 63. It's shut down because of some sort of power line. I was looking at some of our live drive cameras where our reporters are out. Over in northern Kentucky, where you were just in the danger zone, I mean, cars were pulled off the side of the road. It just was rushing water on the windshield. So it is just a mess out there right now in parts of greater Cincinnati. Brian Hamrick is over there in northern Kentucky, where, again, Florence and Union, those areas, Erlanger, were just getting rocked, and they had that tornado warning at one point. It is now moved out of there. Brian, can you hear us?
Yeah, I have you, Cherie. Yeah, it's been really...
Explain to us where you are and what you've been seeing.
Yeah, we are now headed southbound on 75, rather northbound on 75. We've been around the loop today in every direction. We were north of the city on 275. We came around really heavy rain, just a driving rain, a lot of lightning. The roadway was almost impassable at times, flashing lights. Everybody, even at this point, you can see people driving with their flashers on because the visibility is so poor. We came south onto 74. We got through the cut in the hill. That's when we hit another, just a rocking amount of rain coming down. Winds were pretty strong as well. We got turned around in Erlanger, now headed northbound. We've heard some reports possibly of damage somewhere in Covington, so we're headed that way. So we're headed toward the cut in the hill right now. I think we just passed Dixie Highway. We're headed toward Kyle's at this point. So I'm still seeing a lot of rain, but we're in and out of it, in and out, in and out. And at points, I mean, it looks like someone is dumping water onto the windshield, almost impossible to see. My photographer, Brandon Oob, doing some amazing driving out here today, and some of the thick of it as we go through some of these just torrential downpours. And again, a lot of lightning associated with this. When we were in the north part of town, you could look up and see that broad rotation that Kevin was talking about in the clouds. They were just rotating through slowly, nothing tight, nothing spiraling, but the whole cloud system above you seemed to be rotating. The clouds were forming big C's and zeros in the air, but then we didn't see anything tight or spinning, but just this broad rotation. That was most clear up by Forest Fair Mall, or what they call Cincinnati Mills now. I think was the latest up in that area where the all Forest Park and that whole area up there. We saw that. Again, nothing really coming down toward the ground. But then we'd just be hit with this, just a pounding rain at points. Right now, we seem to be kind of in between some of this, but you can see the sky is still trying to determine what it's going to do up there. No way to really know at any given moment where we were, because you can see you're just in almost a cloud cover, and I've been kind of watching the radar. Looks like it's a weather radar camouflage. Over here it's one color, right there it's another. It's got another spot of a different lighter and dark right next to each other. We're coming up on the city.
Guys calling to check on us.
That's a nice scene there. We can see the city. It's at least not under lightning or thunder. So we're going to keep an eye on this area. We're coming down into Covington. We'll let you know whether we see any major damage in this area. So we'll keep you posted. Back to you, Cherie. Mike?
All right, Brian Hamrick reporting live for us there in northern Kentucky, right there along 75 southbound. Again, so many.
He's on 75 northbound.
Clear out, but there's just a lot of remnants where we're hearing about crashes. Just hearing about a Butler County sheriff's deputy involved in a crash along 75 northbound. Sounds like just rear-ended though, and no serious injuries there. Kevin's just been telling us that most of the weather that we were seeing is moving east right now. So our crews that you're seeing here in northern Kentucky, things are now east of them.
All right. So if you're just joining us, 10 minutes to 7, we've been in continuous coverage since about 5:15 when we first got reports of a possible
Simon Kenton
tornado
Way,
out there in
there
Jefferson
next to the
County,
Kenton
Indiana.
County Courthouse
Been on the air ever
in
since.
Covington,
Let's go
Kentucky.
live right now to Lindsay Stone. She has been on that 275 loop in the northern Kentucky area where all three major counties about a half an hour ago were under a tornado warning. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, Mike and Sharia. Things much calmer right now. We're just passing through Edgewood. Let me flip you here. You can see what we're seeing. Visibility much better in the last 10, 15 minutes or so. We're now just going along 275 east towards Taylor Mill. You can see plenty of cars here on the road on both sides. Now, just about 10 minutes or so ago, we were passing by the airport. Of course, no flights in sight there, but we could see definitely some shelf clouds forming off to our east, and we are moving east, continuously following that. But just a while ago, we were able to be out in Greendale, and that's near Lawrenceburg, Indiana. We actually saw some remnants of a funnel cloud there, sirens going off everywhere. As you can see, though, now a very different situation as we're moving closer to Taylor Mill now. So things, visibility, much better. You want to be careful, though, if you are out on the roads. A lot of very wet, slick spots here. We haven't seen any damage so far. We've heard a couple of reports of some trees down along Hash Road, the tree down there in that area. But right now, we've not seen anything that's been alarming. We're just moving along that 275 east part of this road. So we'll keep you posted what we see out here. Again, much better visibility now than what we were seeing even just 20 or 30 minutes or so, guys.
Right, Lindsay Stone there in northern Kentucky. Things are starting to clear out, but you saw the ominous clouds that are still lingering above. Lindsay, thank you so much. Again, there are several people without power right now, thousands in fact, here in the greater Cincinnati area, and we want you to help us tell the weather story tonight. Send us photos or emails when you're safe, of course, and now that things are passing. Photos and emails to newsdesk@WLWT.com. Again, newsdesk@WLWT.com. Need to know your name and where the video, the photos were taken, and we can use it hopefully later on tonight here to tell the weather story.
All right, let's get back out again. We have a whole team of reporters out for you this evening, trying to see if there is any damage out there. Rachel Hersheimer joining us live from our Storm Tracker Max right now. She's in Fort Wright with an update. Are things clearing out there, Rachel?
Yeah, they definitely are, Cherie. We are in Fort Wright, like you mentioned, and earlier today, when we were driving around, we started out just driving around northern Kentucky, and when we were in Florence about 20 minutes ago, that's when we actually had to run into the Florence Mall because we started to hear those tornado sirens. There was that tornado warning there in parts of northern Kentucky in Florence, so we did have to go into the mall and everyone was safe. We didn't see any funnel clouds there, but it was really amazing to see because when we were out there, when we got to the Florence Mall, it was clear out. It looked like a beautiful day, and within 2 to 3 minutes, the dark clouds came rolling in, and it just got really dark and really windy fast, and that's when we went into the mall and went back out to go driving because now that warning has been lifted. I'll show you the road here right now. Everything looks pretty clear at the moment.
Yeah.
And, it is pretty wet out, but it's just slightly drizzling, but there's not too many people on the roadways, but it is good news that it is cleared out now. But if you are going to be heading out, obviously take it slow because the roadways are slippery. And unfortunately, everyone out here is okay after those warnings. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right, Rachel Hersheimer live for us tonight out on Storm Tracker Max right now. And as this storm is kind of moving out of here, we're starting to get a better picture of what has hit some folks here in the area. Again, we're getting reports of damage now, really a widespread area here in greater Cincinnati.
Let's get out to Karen Johnson. She has some damage where she is. Karen, are you in Butler County right now?
Yeah, Cherie, I'm in Monroe, right near the Route 63 exit off of 75, and I have to tell you, if you plan on coming north or south down 75 through the Monroe area, you might want to find another direction, another way to get where you have to go because the highway is shut down in both directions. And I want to kind of show you why. You can see power poles. They are laying, this one actually is laying across the parking lot of the Joe Morgan Honda, which is just north of Route 63. If you come over here, you can see another one snapped here over to my left, and several of them are down, and the power lines are actually, they're lying across the entire highway, across I I-75. So shut down 75 south, 75 north, just north of Route 63, and it's also causing some traffic backups along 63 as well because the power is out. So people who are trying to go over the overpass, they have police officers out trying to direct traffic, but really a mess out here. Again, if you plan on coming south or north through Monroe, down 75, you're going to want to find
Travels with Dr. John Stephenson. We thought you'd be interested in some of this video from Channel 5 News, doing a great job covering the storm that's hitting us in northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati and Indiana.
Yeah, this is the first bit of damage we actually saw. We came up through Westchester. It took us about 45 minutes to get up here, just down 75. I can tell you, though, about 45 minutes ago, the rain was just coming down sideways, visibility very low. But as you can see, that has since cleared up. As far as damage, though, this is the only bit of damage that we have seen. The biggest problem isn't so much the damage at this point. It is the traffic backup along 75 in both directions.
75 in both directions up there in Monroe shut down right now. We were hearing
Travels with Dr. John Stephenson, 859-750-0000. Join us on Facebook or Travels with John Stephenson on YouTube.
We were so focused, of course, on southeastern Indiana and northern Kentucky, and yet Hamilton County, Butler, Warren, still we're having nasty, nasty weather. In fact, I asked Kevin at the time where Karen is, what kind of winds were they seeing?
And be sure and tune in to WIOK 107.5 FM on your radio dial for gospel music and some great sermons. Post Office Box 50, Falmouth, Kentucky, 41040 zip code. That's 107.5 FM radio.
We thought we were getting a bit of a break. It looked like maybe it wasn't going to be as bad as we thought, and perhaps that is the case. But at the same time, the last hour and a half, we've had tornado warnings, a lot of activity on that radar, and a lot of folks that you've been trying to keep safe by getting into their safe space.
Thank you very much, folks, on Channel 5. And Kevin Robinson did a great job.
This stuff would move into the metro based on the timing from radar, and that certainly is how things have played out. I want to take you back here. You're mentioning Karen Johnson is up here in Monroe. Remember they were saying 75 shut down in both directions? I want you to follow this, and we mentioned this about very strong winds moving through the Ross-Fairfield area. Well, check this out. See that area of blue? You see it race right across southern Butler County. There it is. Let me take it again. From Fairfield, basically just west of Westchester, core strong winds just south of the outlets there. So I wouldn't be surprised when you get that dark blue shading. Allison is taking it back. There's the strong winds crossing Interstate 75 near the outlet and then moving up into western Warren County. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised there easily some 50, 60 mile an hour wind gusts. So not surprisingly, and that's the reason why you had the severe thunderstorm warning. Allison is querying that even an estimate as high as 80. Don't think winds were quite that high. I wouldn't rule it out, but certainly probably 70 miles an hour or close to that or less, and that will bring down trees and power lines. So remember, damaging winds, the greatest concern today with a second threat of tornadoes. So that's why we've been saying that off and on throughout the afternoon. So right now, how are things looking on the radar? Let's talk about what's happening. I'm going to go ahead and sound the all clear in southeast Indiana. All the storms have shifted now to the east of Interstate 75 and east of 71. So basically, if you are west of Interstate 75, you're in the clear, or will be here shortly, all with the exception of Owen County. Two big storms we're watching, the one down in Pendleton County, the other one now that's in northern Claremont County, and there was a storm in Clinton County, but that warning has been dropped, it would appear right now, or maybe they reissued it with strong winds. So tornadoes, not the greatest concern at the moment. Damaging winds, I think, are what we need to be most worried about, secondary to the threat for a tornado. So here we go. Let's do a little quick radar setup. Let's start up first. Hail. This storm is severe, currently severe warned. At this point, it's looking a lot less organized, I think, than it was a little while ago. Still can have a broad circulation with that, though. That's interesting. So there you have it. We'll see what happens on this storm. Go back to reflectivity, because we've got broad circulation on that. And again, it's difficult because it's wrapped in rain. So the circulation in this is wrapped in rain, but heads up, if you're over here, for example, in Bracken County, you're currently not under a warning. We'll see what the Weather Service decides to do with this. But there's obviously still rotation embedded within this storm. There you go. That's some fairly decent rotation on that. We'll see how they decide to pull the trigger. It looks to be fairly broad, I think, at this point, but impressive nonetheless. I suspect you're going to get a severe thunderstorm warning over here in Bracken County probably, and any minute we'll likely see that extended out. So Augusta, Brooksville, watch out. You're next in line for a pretty healthy storm. Fortunately, it looks like it should stay south of the Moscow and Felicity communities. This looks to be a problem primarily for Bracken County. And then lastly, severe thunderstorms in southern Grant County. Those are to the south of Dry Ridge and Owington. I can sound the all clear. Dry Ridge, Owington, you guys are now behind this severe line of storm. So you guys are now in the clear of severe weather as well. So most of the severe weather now is east of Interstate 75 and east of Interstate 71. So let's come out, have a look at the picture as a whole. Looks like we've just got that new warning. There we are. Let's zoom in, Allison, right here. New severe thunderstorm warning currently in effect. This is for Bracken and also into Mason counties. Also southern Brown County. We've got severe thunderstorm warnings now in effect, and that's because this healthy thunderstorm coming out of the Falmouth area, this is going to make a direct beeline for the Brooksville community. Allison, how long do these folks have as this storm comes through? And again, there's some broad rotation with this as well as we track that storm out.
Yeah, so I want to say, Kevin, this does have a tornado possible tag on it for that severe thunderstorm warning. So just letting you know with that there. It's moving, let's see, it's moving at about, similar to all the rest of the storms, about 55 miles per hour. So I'll give you a time track here.
All right, so not surprising, and I think that's a smart call. This is what we have here in Bracken County, basically. It's a severe thunderstorm warning with the tornado possible tag on it, meaning that there hasn't been anything confirmed. It's not quite to the point to pull the trigger for a new tornado warning, but I wouldn't rule out something spinning up out of this. So if you're in Brooksville, go ahead and get to your safe place again. Officially, no tornado warning, but a storm with significant rotation coming your way. All right, here's all your town names on there, for example. Thanks a lot, Allison, for that. Brooksville, 713. So you've got about 6-7 minutes before that storm's right on top of you in the Brooksville community. And here's some other towns as well that are showing up on there. South Ripley, 720. That's along the Ohio River, I think, near and west of Augusta. So basically, Bladestown, Berlin, Neve, Browning Corner, then Powersville. For example, the Powersville community, 711. You've got about 3 or 4 minutes. Remember, there's going to be some very strong winds. Well, you see how this storm has kind of taken on somewhat of an S-shaped signature to that? Tells me two things. One, there could be broad rotation. Go back to the velocity, Allison, if you will, and you'll see here there's broad rotation with that storm. Pretty broad rotation. I'll be honest with you, surprised that they haven't pulled the trigger on that and made it a tornado warning. It's awfully broad rotation there. But certainly, if anything, you're dealing with the potential for strong winds, that's for sure, out of this thunderstorm. I would anticipate very strong winds with this couplet as it moves towards Powersville and Brooksville. So if you're in Brooksville and Powersville, you should be in your safe place right now, I think. And again, look at this right here. On the leading edge of this storm, Doppler radar is estimating that you're probably getting some 60 to 70 mile an hour winds. This is showing up 80 miles an hour. It's a little elevated off the surface, so if we were to shave that down a little bit, I'd say 60 to 70 mile an hour wind gusts are probably a fairly, decent bet coming towards Brooksville and Powersville. So you want to get into an interior room down here in Bracken County with this particularly nasty thunderstorm that is headed your way, and again, has shown rotation from time to time. In fact, I think this is the storm that produced a tornado back when it was in the Louisville area about an hour or so ago. So maybe not quite to that intensity, but that's an impressive looking circulation on there. I certainly think it's broad, maybe a little elevated at this point, so not exactly seeing enough.
So we'll say our prayers for you down there in Bracken County.
I would treat this
and
as if
in
it
Pendleton
is now
County.
if you're in Powersville and Brooksville, because it's not much below the threshold.
Judge
for
Pribble
pulling
and the
trigger.
whole
You can
crowd
see
down
we do
there in
have a little bit
Pendleton
of a
County.
tighter couple. It could be maybe 1 or 2 circulations
Wonderful
involved in this
people.
line here. Either way, large enough to certainly be concerning for those of you in Bracken County. So right now, the main threat seems to be down here in Bracken County to the west of Brooksville is where you could have potentially a thunderstorm capable of trying to produce a tornado. That's the official tag. No tornado warning officially on that, but that is a nasty looking storm again down here near the Powersville community, heading towards Powersville and headed towards Brookville again, if you are in Bracken County. That severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, goes all the way east to the Maysville area. So even in Maysville in time, you could be facing the threat for severe weather from this particular thunderstorm. So
be on the lookout. Thanks, Channel 5.
Southeast of the Cincinnati
your
metro
report.
area. I should ask you guys, Adam, Allison, are you guys hearing anything so far in terms of damage or any reports beginning to come in? I know we had close to 5,000 or more folks without power already here in the tri-state.
Yeah, so far, actually, Adam was just showing me a photo of some hail that was over in Bellevue, Kentucky not too long ago. I would say that's with those initial storms that we were tracking around 6:30 or so. I've also seen some reports of flooding over in kind of the East End area too. And Kevin, I'm not sure if you want to keep tracking this, but I know we do have Karen Johnson who's out with an update on some of the aftermath of these storms. So if you are comfortable with tossing to her, we certainly can. Otherwise, if you want to keep going on radar, certainly can do that too.
Let's do one more recap on this Bracken County storm, because that's a nasty looking storm down there. And again, it has a severe thunderstorm warning tag on it. Excuse me, it's a severe thunderstorm warned storm with a tornado possible tag on it. And the reason why I'm sticking with this is because, well, you can even, there you go, tornado warning. I was wondering when that might happen with this because of the circulation on this thunderstorm. So again, if you're down here in Brooksville, Powersville, you should already be in your safe place. That's why I was saying treat this as if, that's why I was saying stick with this and stay with it and treat it as a tornado warning, because the trigger has now been pulled and we've been watching this circulation get more improved here minute by minute. So if you're down here in the Brooksville and Powersville
Get to your
areas,
safe
you should
place.
be in your safe place. You're now likely hearing the sirens again. And Brooksville, you're also likely to be hearing the sirens. If you're in Augusta, you're going to get nasty weather right along the Ohio River. But it's clear the circulation, I mean, look at that couplet there to the west and southwest of Brooksville. In fact, Allison, as you're showing the times, I'll scoot here towards the middle so you can get the times and look downstream of this. But there's a couple of things I want to do with this storm. Here's communities that are out ahead. You see the times there. On this. For example, Powersville, you should already be in your safe place now. Germantown, 727, nasty looking signature, I think, on radar here from this particular storm. The Reeds community, South Ripley, East Ripley, all those communities, you need to be getting into a safe place. But of imminent worry is for the folks from Brooksville down in the direction of Powersville. This is a nasty thunderstorm. Allison, I want to sample the winds on this and get an idea on how fast it's rotating. I mean, look at that there. I mean, you've got a very strong signature on radar. So we're talking about 90. Also, do a little sampling of the green, too, so we can get an idea on, let's get rid of the box again. There you go, and get right back in this area. So we've got at least what would appear to be, we know we've got 90, 40, so you've got about 130 mile per hour winds of shear, right? That means that's how fast the storm is rotating, okay? That doesn't mean there's a tornado, but that means that there's certainly, with that amount and speed of rotation in here, I wouldn't rule it out. Let's go over to reflectivity, because I saw something a minute ago that I thought was pretty interesting. Look at this right in here. You notice how you have where the reflectivity falls off in the center of this storm? That's what we call kind of a bounded area where we have weak echo. So I would not at all be surprised if this storm very well could be producing a tornado. as it comes towards the Brooksville community right now. There is likely, and quite possible, there's some debris, at least probably some hail with that. All right, that's the debris signature. Let's go back, take this back, and let's see what's happening here, because this would bring that storm right over Powersville at the moment. So take that back for me a couple of frames. Let's see if it's there, or if it just pops up as we walk it forward in time. That's interesting. Can't help but wonder if we might not have had a very brief tornado touchdown with some debris potentially here in the Powersville area. So that's now going to be, so your circulation now is right in here. So at the very least, we know that this storm is capable of producing damaging winds, right? And very well could have a tornado with it as well. Somewhere here in the Brooksville, Powersville area, that's where I'm most concerned. If you're in Minerva, Germantown, even Chatham, for example, you need to be getting into a safe place if you aren't already. The storm's moving very quickly. Think about it, it's moving at close to the speed limit, highway speeds, 55, 60 miles per hour. So this tornado storm is right over the city of Brooksville.